Hi, welcome to this talk on why be an actuary. This is a question I get asked quite a lot from young people, especially. So we thought we'd put this into a presentation so you can learn a bit more. So today we'll talk about an introduction to the world of the actuary. Then we'll talk about some common questions from actuarial students. And then finally give you a taste of the early years. So after you graduate, but before you become a qualified actuary. Okay, so the first question is, well, what is this thing called an actuary? And it's easy to give a one-line answer, but to truly understand, you have to understand what makes an amazing actuary. So an amazing actuary is somebody who can explain technical concepts to non-technical people. You can be the smartest person in the world, but as an actuary, a lot of the people you're going to be talking to, the majority, are going to be non-actuarial. And you will only get your point across is if you can explain technical concepts to very non-technical people. Unlike being a math professor or some other very pure technical field, we're using technical knowledge, such as mathematics, in the business world. So we're dealing with all sorts of people. Some love mathematics, some hate mathematics. So the first step, being able to explain very technical concepts to non-technical people. Secondly is an amazing actuary has strong programming skills. This doesn't mean you're going to be programming all day. Not at all. But this means that you should learn programming and be very strong at programming because of the thought process, your mind in terms of building a program. A lot of times this programming mindset is super important in the things that we do. A lot of times we're in board meetings, we have discussions with upper management and the board of directors. As part of that, we have to have a very solid proof, a very solid line of reasoning, which a lot of this comes down to programming. If you have put programs together, you know that if your loops aren't connected properly, if you don't have your flow correctly, your programs will never work. It's really the same thing in a lot of the stuff that we do. Another skill of an amazing actuary is they ensure that the data being used is correct for what we are doing. Sounds easy to do. It is much harder to do in real life. Actuarial Partners has a whole course on this, on working with data, using data, trying to understand data and building assumptions and whatnot. Next one is has a deep understanding of the market and field that you are working in. A lot of being an actuary is going very deep into what our understanding, whatever you're doing, whatever types of actuarial science you're going to get involved in, you are getting into this deeply. You're not stopping at the surface level of problems. You're really digging, getting underneath the problems, getting deep down. So you truly understand what the problems are, so you can understand how to solve those problems. So understand deeply the market and the field that you're working in. Another aspect of an amazing actuary is you understand different methodologies for doing our work and why we'd use one way over another. There's no one way to do so many things in life, and that's actuarial science as well. There's so many different ways of doing things. Many times, if you understand multiple ways of doing the same thing, then you can check yourself. Being an actuary is not a closed book exam in university. It's an open book exam. You've got an answer, you put something together, great. How did you know it was correct? Well, use a different methodology. Find a way to counter check what you've done. So, different methodologies. Another aspect is understanding the risks related to the choice of assumptions or methodology. Very quickly as you become an actuary, you realize that, being actuary is predicting the future, looking at different economic scenarios, actuarial scenarios, and really trying to use this to help insurance companies and others do their work. So you need to make a lot of assumptions in our work, and that's fine. You'll learn how to do these assumptions. The amazing actuary will understand the risks related to different assumptions and different methodologies and use that to determine what is most important. And this really expands. This gets into how do I convince management? Let's say you have to come up with 5 different assumptions to do a projection, to do certain, developing a product, whatever it is. Fine. But what if one of the assumptions is very sensitive? if investment return is a bit lower than what you expected, the company really loses a lot of money. Whereas maybe another assumption is not so sensitive. So when you build assumptions, when you have different methodology, understanding the risks related to this, and again, being able to explain this to non-technical people, what does it mean? Another aspect of an amazing actuary is being able to understand the big picture and manage the work accordingly. It's nice to say we're technical experts and we're mathematicians and everything you'd like to say, but the reality is we still manage people. We still have to understand what our numbers mean. A lot of times when we go to a board meeting and we present to the board, it's not the actuary that can give, 3 hours of very technical discussions about exactly what each number means and what statistical distribution they used. The board of directors doesn't care. They want to know, okay, you've done your work. What does this mean to the company? So it's understanding the big picture and then managing your work accordingly. And then finally, reviews the work of others and can guide them. The higher, as you move up in being an actuary, you're going to have people underneath you. You can't do everything yourself. As you go up, it's being able to review the work of others and knowing that everybody has a different way of doing things. There's no one process to do everything. There's no one way of doing actuarial science. There's many ways. Everybody's unique. The people underneath you might have very different ways of doing things, which is fine. But you need to be able to guide them. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what is an amazing actuary. Just give you a taste of this beautiful field that you're choosing. So what do actuaries do? Well, actuaries add value to insurance companies. The insurance companies, they want to make more money while managing their risks. So as an actuary, you understand risks better than anybody else. So because you understand these risks, you can understand what does it mean to manage each risk. How do we make risks more? We can make the risks less. We can manage those risks. We can get rid of some risks. So we really add value in understanding different risks and understanding how to manage those risks. So an example here for the next marketing campaign. Should the company focus on males or females? You could say, well, how does that have to do with an actuarial science? It has everything to do with an actuarial science, with actuarial science. You are the kings of the data. You understand data better than anybody. You can look at experience separate from males and females. And using that, you can price and develop your products accordingly. You can help people, you can help the company to understand who's giving you better profit, males or females. And that will allow your marketing team to understand, okay, in my next marketing campaign, I should focus on males or females. Should I focus my marketing campaign on all provinces and states and cities or just some? Again, you're the kings of the data. How about old people versus young people? Well, which products should we include in this marketing campaign? All of these things with data, you'll understand. Yes, there are data scientists around. They understand data, but they might not understand what the data means. And this is where we come in as actuaries. We understand what the data means, and we can get in and actually take the data that we've been mining and understanding, put it into our work, so we can now tell the marketing team which one is more important. Another example, the marketing department wants to spend $1 million to move into a new market segment. Is this a good idea? You might look and says, okay, Hassan, what? Nothing to do with me. No, everything to do with you. Why? Okay, marketing department says, give me $1 million and I'll do the following things. The question is, when we do our projections, what are those other things? What are they promising to do for us? Are they promising to get us new business? Are they promising, what's in it for me? What's in it for the company? So by working with the marketing department to understand this is what you want the money for, and this is what the results are going to be, Now you can go back to the company to say, okay, yes, we're spending 1 million now, but over the next 5 years, this is how your profits are going to change. Take the present value. Indeed, this is a good idea. But the marketing department has to have the following KPIs to make sure that they really are giving you the value that you need. And the final example, what are the key risks the insurance company should focus on next year? This is called a financial conditions report. One of the key things that actuaries get involved with in many countries. And again, we've got a Actuarial Partners as a course on this to learn more. Okay, so common questions a student asks are, okay, why did you choose actuarial science? And what made you choose life insurance or general insurance or IFRS 17 now? How do I know whether to work for an insurance company or try consulting, reinsurance, something else? And then for the ones that haven't tried exams yet, tell me about the exams. I heard they were very, very hard. And then any advice from me as I'm just starting out? Okay, so to help answer these questions, I took a survey of 75 people, a LinkedIn survey. So a lot of them were Malaysians, but we also had people from India, Africa, USA, Canada, the UK, Pakistan, and other countries. A lot of them were analysts. We had associates, and we had qualified actuaries as well. So it's quite a wide range. And a range between life insurance, general insurance, data analytics, and there were a number of others as well. Line of work, a lot of them were in insurance, but some were in consulting. There were some in reinsurance, some in audit firms, IT, and whatnot. Okay? So the first question, why did you choose actuarial science? So my answer is, I love puzzles. I love problem solving. Absolutely. I find solving puzzles to be just amazing and something that I enjoy doing. But actuarial science is all about solving problems and solving puzzles. Normally in an insurance company, if they can solve a problem easily, they'll do it themselves. It's only when it gets really, really complicated that they'll go to the actuarial department and says, okay, how do I do this? And a lot of times it's not just an easy answer. You need to really dig down and understand. Like what I said, the data might show males and females being very different. They might show in terms of automobile accidents, okay, red cars have a terrible accident rate, but blue cars are quite good. Why? It's a puzzle. Isn't that amazing? Right. Other people said it's challenging and I love math. Indeed, a lot of us that are in actuarial science are pretty strong in math. Somebody else said I wasn't good at anything except for math, and that's great. That's great. You'll get that a lot in the actuarial field. A lot of us will say the same thing, that we're pretty good at math. Everything else, oh my God. A mentor suggested it to me. Fair enough. Good career opportunities and more practical than a pure math job. Yes, I agree. I love that actuarial science is global. I can work anywhere in the world. Absolutely. Even say I'm American, but I'm coming from living in Malaysia my whole adult life, basically. So there are Malaysian actuaries in Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Hong Kong, mainland China, everywhere. So yes, you can go anywhere in the world. It's prestigious and one of the top jobs in the world. Yes, absolutely. It is very prestigious. In the village or the rural areas, people might not have heard of actuarial science. They might have heard of being a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer, something like that. But nonetheless, being an actuary is a very, very prestigious job. It's a secure job that pays well, and that is absolutely true. I can say that from the bottom of my heart, that it's quite a secure job, and always been happy about that. If you pass your exams, you're going to get work. You'll be demand for you in your country or in other countries. I'm inspired by the idea of the actuary protecting the policyholders. True. Also very good. And another comment was work-life balance. Okay, I got to give a point here. When this person said work-life balance, he meant after he finished his exams, not when he's taking his exams. When you're taking your exams, it's going to be hard. Work-life balance is a bit of a problem. But Once you get through, then your life is better. So the next question I get asked is, how do you choose your specialty? Why did you choose life insurance? And for me, it was just luck. A life insurance company offered me my first job. And this was by far the top answer. Absolutely the top answer. Far and away, the first job, they didn't really care where they got, but they might have a preference, life versus general insurance or whatever. But for the most part, they were happy to get a job, in an insurance company. So fair. Some people said based on my interest from classes in university. This is also true. I'd suggest you get practical knowledge on different types of specialties. And we have that in our online learning, if you're curious. Some different life insurance expertise. We have general insurance and whatnot. Takaful versus IFRS 17. Some people got advice from seniors or a lecturer. Fair enough. Somebody said general insurance deals with everything under the sun, so that attracted me. And that one is also true. Life insurance, our products are quite stable. General insurance, the main products of motor, automobiles, fire, personal accident. I mean, that's by far the main ones, the main product lines in a lot of countries. But you can get to very specialty lines. So it is quite interesting. Even though I'm more of a life guy, I also enjoy that aspect of general insurance. Data analytics is the future, so I wanted to be a part of that. And that's also another very good point and comment. There is a lot of data analytics. I strongly believe that pure data scientists are going to be limited in an insurance company, but actuarial trained people that get into data analytics, now that's interesting. So why did you choose your type of company? So for me, when I worked in an insurance company, I always felt like an expense. The real kings of an insurance company is the distribution, the agents, the banks that are selling, the people doing worksite marketing, whatever they're doing. There's a lot of different ways that you sell insurance, but the people that are marketing, they're the kings of an insurance company. And again, we've got a whole online course on different market segments and whatnot. So I was an expense, something to be minimized. So that's how I felt. Now in consulting, I'm making money for the company, which feels good. Consulting is also about helping people, which is something that I have such a passion for. So for me, whenever you have a client, the amazing thing is sitting with the client and just saying, okay, what's the issue? What are you looking for us? What do you want from us? And it's never as easy as their initial comment. A lot of times they'll ask for something, but that's not the real underlying concern or problem. And you have to really dig down to try and understand what is really going on. What is the real aspects that they would like worked on? So I love that aspect of consulting. Another answer was the company gave me a job. It's luck, it's fate. And again, this is far and away the most common answer. Somebody else said, I'm an extrovert, so consulting was a natural choice. I would just comment that you don't need to be an extrovert to be a consultant. I'm very, very heavily an introvert, but there's certain times when you can act like an extrovert, and that's what consulting can be for a lot of people. A lot of times, somebody who's an introvert will have a small number of deep friends. So we'll have a small number of very close and deep friends. So as part of that, they can get very close to certain clients. So they might not be sort of this bubbly, extroverted person to meet so many people, but they'll get to know their clients very deeply and they'll get to really understand them, so being an introvert is also excellent for consulting. Good benefits with a multinational, and that's absolutely true. How long did it take you to qualify? Oh, for the love of God, too long. Can I say that? And nowadays, you guys, the younger generation gets through this much faster than my generation. For me, I qualified at age 31. And when I went to the fellowship admissions course, the median age was 33. So Even though it was 31, I was above average. Qualified actuaries ranged from 3 years to 11 years. Um, does it vary by society and everything? I mean, that's open for discussion. It is true that in the UK, you can get a ton of exemptions. You can go for a bachelor's, a master's degree, and all this extra stuff. And through your university, just staying in a university environment, be almost qualified. So it might only take you 3 years to get through. There's good and bad with that, honestly. Those that have not qualified have spent up to 10 years taking exams. And, you know, one of my good friends who's still working for a reinsurance company here in Malaysia, took him 15 years to qualify, and I've seen even more. Okay, so tell us about the exams. What was the best thing about the exams? So for me, it was about learning new things. When the study materials came out and it arrived to me, it looked like it was in a foreign language. You get these materials and be such a complicated subject or something, something which is totally different than what I was doing at work, that it was really looked like something totally foreign. But by the time I took the exam, I had the material almost memorized. So how amazing is that? I love to learn. My passion is learning. So with that in mind, these exams were a blessing for me just to keep learning. People said the salary increment when you pass, absolutely. Sense of achievement when you pass, true. That goes both ways, yeah. So you take an exam with your friends, and you're the one that doesn't pass, and they pass. So anyway, we'll get to the negative after this. Getting new books, definitely. Challenging and exciting. They help me to understand my work better. True in some cases. You need to be careful. Nowadays, you can take a lot of different specialties. So you need to, it's not a trivial discussion. You need to think carefully about which specialty you want to take. Some are much harder than others, seems like, from an outsider. So what I'm saying is, if you're in, say, the UK, and you're taking a UK papers, UK pension, so you're taking exams which are related to your exact field in your country, that could be amazingly useful. But if you're from outside of that country, so you're taking exams, whether it's US or UK, and you're from Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, someplace else, you need to think about that as to which which structure is going to translate the best for you. Interesting and insightful, yes. Builds discipline and patience. God, yes. You will definitely learn discipline from taking these exams. Pushes me to think and step outside my comfort zone, yes. I had somebody say fun. I had to put the question marks. I can't remember anything fun about these exams. They were hard, man. Maybe it's just me. Maybe you love these exams. Good for you. I found it challenging. What was the worst thing about exams? For me, it was these exams can give you psychological, mental health issues, really and truly. Because any time that you are relaxing or having any kind of a social life, you could be studying. Maybe that next exam you fail by just because in some of these exam systems, they won't just tell you fail. They'll tell you whether you just barely failed or not. And that really just, it's not just sticking a knife in you, it's sort of twisting it a little bit because, it's like, haha, you just barely failed. If you studied just a little bit more, you could have passed. And, you need to spend the next 6 months of your life studying for that same exam again. So it really is something, and so there's a stress there. So even if, for instance, I'm a Muslim, so you go to your Eid celebrations or whatever, and you're going from house to house and, you're visiting relatives, but deep down, do you bring your actuarial book or not? Same thing for the kids doing Chinese New Year and whatnot, the celebrations or Deepavali, whatever it is. You could bring your actuarial books. So that's a mental health issue, honestly. There's a fear of failure. True. Terribly hard to pass, unnecessarily difficult. Again, totally true. They are terribly hard to pass. They're making it better. I have to say, they are making it better, especially in the Society of Actuaries. I'm American, so I'm not, I'm a little bit prejudiced, but they do make the exams a lot more practical. There's modules, the different things. So I have to give them credit for that. Stress, yes. They're expensive, yes. I was in a country giving this talk actually, and their comment to me was one Society of Actuaries actuarial exam is 6 months of their salary. That is expensive. Failing and then having to study again, yes. Loss of sleep, yes. Although I would comment that if you're taking these exams, you need to budget your time and really do chunking. For instance, studying like hell for 1 week before the exam is not going to do it for you. A rule of thumb when I was taking exams is for every 1 hour of exam, you should have 100 hours of studying, not to pass, but to be in range, to be considered a serious candidate. So that means in the morning before you go to work, study for an hour. You finish work, study for an hour. So you're not burning the midnight oil for 1 month and staying all night. No increments when I didn't pass, but my friends passed. Yes, that is problematic. Grueling hours with no social life, indeed. And studying while working is like living in hell. I love that. A lot of times when they're in university, they say, it's probably better to just pass exams when you graduate. Oh God, no. Take these exams, do the best you can, get through as many as you can, as fast as you can. Get through it. You're going to want to move on with your life. Get through the exams. Okay. So another question is if you could do one thing differently, what would it be? So for me, it would be to learn more behavioral science in addition to actuarial science. The technical part of actuarial science is amazing. You learn so much. But as you get into, the working world, you realize that behavioral science is also very, very important. Psychology. Why do people think certain ways? Because when you're developing products, you have to appeal to a certain market segment. For instance, microinsurance might be, we call it the B40 in Malaysia, the bottom 40% of wage earners. So the psychology is different for developing a product in that segment versus selling something to a richer people. It's not better or worse, it's just different. And if you're presenting your ideas, your results, or whatever, whether it's valuation, IFRS 17, you're presenting it to management and the board, there's a lot of behavioral science here. So if I had gotten more into that, that would be good. Somebody said, learn more about programming. Yes, indeed. Really learn the material for the initial exams as it comes back later. Indeed, if you study just for the sake of taking exams and not trying to implement it into your life, you will probably suffer later on. Start as early as possible. Yes. Study how to study, find a method which works for me. And that's actually very, very true. If you go to my own personal YouTube channel, I have a video on little secrets to studying. And this is just simple things that, people should tell you when you're young, but they don't. It's only when I actually wrote a book myself and I'm putting examples in that I realized that these examples that you, as an author, you put into each chapter, they are so important. You try to put so many little tricks into these examples so that people can really understand. The problem is when you just go and you read that example without trying to do it, or you just sort of, follow it along, you don't get those little points. The only way you can get that is as soon as you see the example, cover the answer, do it out. Do it out, do it out. Spend all the time you need to get that answer. Seriously, that'll make such a big difference. Another one, if you don't mind me just going off on a tangent for a moment, is that your brain needs time to think. That's why you don't study for 2 weeks straight. You study over a long period. Just give your brain some time to absorb this. Have you ever been in an exam and you're taking the exam and you just can't think of the answer? And then finally you finish the exam, you hand it in, you leave, and 10 minutes later, you're getting a drink somewhere and you say, that was the answer. Your mind needed time. It needed time to think about these things. So at the very beginning, when you take an actuarial exam, spend 5 minutes per question. Just go through. I mean, the essay ones, yeah? So you go through, get your brain thinking about each question. Okay, you might not finish. You probably won't finish. Just spend a few minutes seeing what the question is, putting some notes in, getting yourself down. Then you go all the way back to the beginning, and then you do it out. You'll be amazed how much this works. So find a method which works for you. Do an internship. For the love of God, do an internship. Even if you can't get somebody to pay you to be an intern, do it for free if you possibly can. Seriously, it'll make all the difference in the world. When you graduate and you get into a full-time job, or you're trying to get into a full-time job, you might want to know, should I do life insurance or general insurance? Right. So if you do an internship for free when you're younger, not official university internship, but when you're younger, just say, hey, I just finished my freshman year, my first year. Can I do an internship with you? You don't have to pay me 1 month, whatever it is. I'm happy to help out. You can learn life in general, different types of companies. So do an internship. Work under a great boss. And this is actually very, very true. Nowadays, a lot of people are job hopping, trying to get higher salaries. And I understand that. The starting salaries of actuaries haven't increased in a long time, actually. But you got to work under a good boss. A good boss will really nurture you and help you to develop yourself. Take more practical courses rather than all technical in university. Absolutely. Microeconomics, macroeconomics, those are going to be some of the most useful courses you take. Somebody said, switch to a different career. And the person who said this, he was not talking about, going into like economics rather than actuarial science. He was talking about being a roti canai seller, the little non-Malaysians, I don't know how to say roti prata for some countries. Anyway, he was talking about something totally different. What advice would you give to a student just starting out? I would say don't give up. This is a great career. We do amazing things as actuaries. We are problem solvers. We're helping people to manage their risks. So many people in this world don't understand the risks that they're taking, and they run themselves into so many unnecessary problems, mental stress, physical problems, because they're not managing their risks appropriately. Insurance does an amazing job of managing these risks, which is the job of the actuary. It's a great career. Focus on soft skills as much as technical skills, communication especially. Yes, definitely. Be patient. This profession has so much to offer you, but you must invest in it properly with your time and efforts. Yes. While you're taking exams, it's going to seem miserable. I won't lie to you, but be patient. Get a double degree in computer science if possible. True, true. Don't limit yourself geographically, some countries especially. Don't be afraid of failure and rejection. Yeah, very few people are going to get through all exams first try. You're going to fail. And it's going to hurt because people that are actuarial science majors tend to be the nerds, the really smart ones. The first time you come in and you failed an exam, it is something to feel, It's the first time in your life probably that you didn't pass an exam. And your friends around you, when you go to your parents and you say, hey, I failed this exam, there'll be a look of shock. It's like, oh my God, you failed. Yeah, how did that happen? Yeah, but don't be afraid. Failure comes. And it comes. Focus on the learning. Everything else will come. Yes. Get an internship. Yes. Be prepared for less social life. Yes. It is what it is. Enjoy your university life, as once you start work, you will have no life. Yeah, also can be true. I work hard on my team to try and give people a life, to have flexible hours and, so that they can have a bit of a life. But, studying for exams is difficult. And these are real answers. I didn't make this stuff up. Okay. This is from the survey. Be willing to work long hours, think critically, and be vocal. Speak your mind. You have a voice. I know you're young when you first get out. You have knowledge and skills. Use them. Once it brace yourself. True. Okay, so that was the survey, and that's a little bit about the questions that people normally ask. I hope that's helpful. The other question is, so what am I going to do? I told you about what makes an amazing actuary, but when you graduate, you're not an actuary, you're an actuarial analyst. So what's life like as an actuarial analyst? So as an analyst, your focus is on what to do, on what does it mean to do an experience study? What does it mean to develop these assumptions, to work with the data? What does it mean to do an actuarial valuation, to do a profit test? What? It's all about what. What do I need to do? And we have a whole series of courses on core life actuarial practice. Flat one in particular talks about data and assumption work and whatnot. And lessons that I learned as an analyst was that trust needs to be earned. You have to earn people's trust. Okay, you graduated, you're super smart and everything. Who cares? Really? Who cares? You passed a few exams. Yay. Who cares? You're the smartest one in your university. Fine. Who cares? Why do I say that? When you get into you might be the smartest in your university, smartest people. You might, your friends are other fields, and you're like, wow, this incredible person to them. You get into an actuarial department, and you're going to be surrounded by people like that. So you need to earn people's trust. We don't make cars or other things that people can hold and touch and try out. We make ideas. So trust is easier said than done. Attention to detail is so important in our profession. It only takes one mistake to really lose somebody's trust. We can lose trust in an instant, but it takes a long time to get that trust back. So, like I've said already, when you're in the working world, it's not a closed book exam. It's an open book exam. You can go back and check your work with a different methodology. You can, when you get a result, does it make sense? One thing, we have somebody very smart in our team she's called Wei Ying. And so people say, what would Wei Ying think? And that's very true. What would Wei Ying think? So okay, I'm as an analyst, you're going to be giving this to the senior person named Wei Ying. And okay, the first time you get back an email, there's going to be like 1,000 comments on what you can be working on. And their job is, they say, what would Wei Ying think? How would Wei Ying think about this problem? And by doing so, they're thinking differently. They're finding different ways of checking their work, and it improves their quality. As an aside, if you get stuck in an actuarial exam and you just can't think of the right answer, think about somebody that's very smart. Say, what would that person do? Sounds stupid, but you'd be surprised. Okay, so pricing lessons learned. Selling anything is difficult. If you have ever been in a sales position, not say at McDonald's or KFC where you're at the front and people come to you, but it's one of those positions where you need to actually go out and sell something. It's difficult. Selling insurance is extremely difficult. People don't want to talk about dying and death, and you can't hold and touch insurance as opposed to other things. Agents need the product they sell to be the best. The best can be defined in so many ways, but in some way it's the best. Okay, and there's a lot involved there. You have the best values, the best death protection, the cheapest premiums, the highest savings amount, the best coverage, the fastest service, in some way being the best. Okay, so again, we have a course on pricing and product development, CLAP 2, which can help you in understanding this. All of these courses have a free preview version. So if you're a student, you can go in and look at it, understand a little bit more from what I've been saying for free. In terms of actuarial valuation, lessons learned is your job scope as an analyst is to ensure accuracy of the valuation. You want to make sure data is complete, consistent, accurate. This sounds easy. It's not nearly as easy as it sounds. It requires proper processes and procedures to be in place and your thought process to be strong. Okay. And again, we've got a course on actuarial valuation issues, gross premium valuation calculations and whatnot. We call that CLAP 3. And all these courses, again, they've got a free version to all of this stuff. So go take a look at it. It's not the full course. I mean, you have to pay for that, but you can at least go in and get the free version and understand more about these issues. Okay, so after you've been working for, say, 3 to 5 years, you go from a what to a why. You become an actuarial associate. There's different steps along the way, but roughly, you know, for some of the exam systems, you actually have official actuarial associate designation. Some don't. So when you become an associate, a more senior, you have people underneath you reporting to you. You change from what to why. What is good? You do your job very well. That's why you got promoted. But now you need to understand why. Why are you doing everything? Understanding the big picture is important. Why we use different methodology. And the higher up you go, soft skills are just as important as actuarial skills. Actuarial science is not like some other technical fields. We have 1 foot in technical stuff, 1 foot in the business world. Being in the business world, we need soft skills. And related to that, you can be totally right, 100% right. But if nobody understands that you are right, you're still wrong. Most times, you're not the final say. You say, okay, the answer is 7. I say it's 7, so therefore it's 7. No, you recommend that management and the board decides the answer is 7. But it's up to somebody else to make that decision, unless you become CEO and whatnot. But, as an actual associate, you're not going to be CEO. You're going to be others above you are going to make that decision. People need to understand why that you are right. So this is the why. Other lessons, we need to have sanity checks in everything we do. And it's especially for projection work. So how does it look versus actual results? Does it make sense? Does our results make sense? Another aspect is if you are not qualified by the time you get your 3 to 5 years of experience, and most times you're not, you might have children. You think taking exams as an undergraduate is difficult? Wait till you have screaming children all night. That adds a whole level of challenges. Okay, so now as a young qualified actuary, you're not done yet. It's nice to think that once you finish your exams, ta-da, you're at the top of Mount Everest. No. Once you have finished all of your exams and you've qualified, you're at base camp. Seriously, I apologize for saying that, but you're at base camp. Now is where you really need to get going. Okay? You've got all the technical details that you need. You've understood some of the whys. Now you ideally work under a strong qualified actuary. They can guide you into the more strategic aspects of your work. The better you can understand strategic elements, strategic aspects, the higher you're going to go as a young qualified actuary, and the better you'll be able to influence the board of directors and management. And the more value you can add. As an actuary, we want to add value in an insurance company, which means understanding all the strategic key issues that an insurance company or whatever kind of company faces, and being able to help with those problems. You would also explore different specialties to see where you want to focus on. And this is not just being life insurance. Within life insurance, for instance, or life versus general, you could be doing traditional actuarial valuations. You could be a product development specialist. You could be doing strategic work. You could be focusing on IFRS 17. You could be focusing on data analytics. All of these fields have qualified actuaries. So what is your focus going to be? And you'll move deeply into actuarial management before possibly moving higher and out of the actuarial team. For a lot of actuaries, they eventually want to be a non-actuary. And you can never take the actuarial science away from you. In your university education, you've learned what an actuary does. You've taken the courses. That foundation is inside you. Nobody can take that away from you. If you work for a bank, if you work for an airline, you work for any kind of a company, the actuarial science is there. You can always use that actuarial science. But even in insurance companies, many times they work their way up. They become the head of the actuarial team. But many times they want to become CFO, Chief Financial Officer, a COO, Chief Operating Officer, CEO, CTO, Chief Technical Officer. There's a lot of different C-suites that actuaries would want to get into. And it's this actuarial management, again, we've got a course for this. So All I can say is good luck, and we're here to help. And if you have questions, you're happy, I'm happy for you to email me or go to my LinkedIn and discuss over LinkedIn. You can try our online courses. Some of them are totally for free. Actuarialpartnerslearning.com. Okay, so thank you so much.